Hey everybody, come on and tell us where you're joining us from because we have people coming in from all over the world. We have a very special show for you tonight. We're already live on Facebook, so I'm just going to go ahead and start. I'm Dr. Maureen Hayes from Galveston, Texas, and you are watching the Asea 5. We're a little short. There's actually only 3 today, so we are going to be stupendous. We're going to make up for the missing 2. Jiminy and Glenn, who you know are from San Antonio, our money man and his beautiful wife who does personal training and nutrition are they're in Park City, Utah on the slopes. So they had the chance to go out and visit our headquarters today and meet with some of the people there. And of course, you all know Dr. Lee Osler from Washington State, our dentist extraordinaire, and the author of Redox Matters, and our brilliant person who we always go to for all the NRF2 cascades and all of the heavy science in ASEA. And tonight, to start off the new year, 2022 right, we have none other than the CEO of ASEA, Mr. Funke. He's going to give us the details on what we can expect for this upcoming year. But first, before we do that, Chuck, before you put, what do they say? Before you open the kimono, or I forget what the saying is you guys say, what we want you to do is kind of tell us how you got into this company. You come from the world of finance and insurance, and you were incredibly successful there and had a great career. And then you join this company making, with salt water from Salt Lake City. That has to be a story because I know when I joined 9 years ago, you were already with the company. So take us back to that beginning. Tell us what you saw, what you were thinking, and what was it that got you involved with ASEA? We'd love to hear that story.
Well, thanks, Maureen and Lee. It's great to be with you tonight. I'd be happy to share that story, as uninteresting as it may be. But I'd like to first say congratulations, Dr. Osler, for the accomplishment of writing a book. There are probably not many tasks more daunting in the world than writing a book. And I was just mentioning before we went live on the call, I happened to get a personalized autographed copy of the book. And what's interesting about it is that none other than Maureen Hayes wrote the foreword to the book. So I told them earlier, I said, I ought to be interviewing you all rather than the other way around. It's quite an amazing accomplishment. Well, first of all, thanks everyone for taking time out of your Friday evening to join this call. It's quite a phenomenal thing. I did a recording late yesterday for a call in the Philippines and had to learn a few lines in Tagalog. So I'm appreciative of the fact that we're all speaking English right now. To answer your question, Maureen, I've known about ASEA long before it was ever known about as ASEA. It was way back when it was just something that Vertus was coming across. Like you said, I did spend nearly 18 years in the financial services business with some fairly large financial institutions. Lived in Des Moines, Iowa for a period of time where I worked for the Principal Financial Group and worked for New York Life. And the story of how I came to ASEA was in 2003. I was contacted by a financial services company that's headquartered in Salt Lake City and met a guy by the name of Tyler Norton. Nice guy, who'd probably go a long way in his life. But so in 2003, Tyler and I began a working relationship together at this particular company. And it so happened we did incentive trips. There's a lot of similarities between the way financial services are distributed and the way that ASEA is distributed. It's all sold direct, from representatives. And we had an incentive trip in the Baltic Sea. We took a Baltic Sea cruise for one of our incentive trips, and we had some extra cabins. And Vertus came and Bonnie came on that cruise. with us. And so I met Virtus for the first time it's been about 19 years ago. And Tyler and I, ever since that time in 2003, have, as you two both know, have had close working relationship ever since, and an even deeper friendship. And it was in 2011. So Tyler was kind of keeping me apprised as to what his dad was doing. We used to go over to Virtus's house when we would need to get out of the office and go down in his basement and do our business planning, and we would pick his brain on things. And it just kind of, Tyler started telling me at one point about this technology his dad had come across. And it's interesting that this technology, Virtus came across it through a contact that Tyler and I worked with. And Tyler was asked to do some business planning for this company, and he got his dad to go with him. And they were so impressed with Virtus at that time, they asked him to be on the board. And that's ultimately how he came across the technology that ultimately became Asea. So as far back as, 2007 or 8, when all this was happening, I remember distinctly Tyler calling me one day and saying, I think my dad's going to start a network marketing company. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, I've been doing some help, work with him. And he thinks that's the channel that this technology would be best suited for. And so, the years went on, and I was running a company at the time that was a subsidiary of a larger firm. We had just sold it to a firm down in Texas. And Tyler had introduced me to Jerem at that point, and they invited me to a convention this was in 2011. In August of 2011, I believe it was, they invited me to come down to the Cosmopolitan Hotel in Las Vegas and attend a convention. And they say that, leaders are born at conventions and at meetings. Well, it truly was the case with me, because it wasn't until I went to that convention, and I'd been to some fly-in meetings. Tyler had invited me to come to some fly-in meetings prior to that, but it was at that time, at that event in Las Vegas, that convention, that I started to get an appreciation and a glimpse of what they had here and how special it could be. And one of the things that attracted me to the financial services industry is because it does allow you to do some good for people, and having some aspect of a cause associated with, I think, the work that we do is extremely important. And Asea is certainly a cause-oriented company. And so, long and short of it is about a month after I went to that convention, they made me a job offer to come work at Asea. They were very, very young, just had been operational for just not even 2 years at the time. And I've never looked back. I look back on it as probably one of the best decisions I ever made professionally in my life. And it's been a remarkable journey to be a part of. And Tyler and I still maintain that deep friendship even to this day. And both say that very few people would have ever had the vision that Virtus did to see this and connect all the dots associated with it and figure out a way to get it to the most people in the fastest way, which is really the brilliance of network marketing, is the scalability of it and how, Asea is, it's sold, it's not bought, and it has to be told with a story. And when you're dealing with a new technology, trying to convince a large audience, he was a traditional retail person and didn't know anything about network marketing. was introduced to the idea by a gentleman who had been in network marketing. So that sounds like an opportunity for a network marketing company. And that's really how it all began. And it turned out that it was a brilliant decision by Redox because of the lives that it's impacted.
Could you unpack that just a little bit more? I mean, this is one of the sticking points that, we all hear and feel when we're talking to people. There's, whether it's stigma or just, ignorance or preconceived notions, or, the other companies that might have tainted, this territory. But come at this. I mean, the interesting thing in interviewing you is that you come at this from the corporate side. You have a different set of eyes than do we out here, even health professional eyes. So unpack that for us and explain just a little more, if you would, for us, because I know there's a lot of people who wonder, well, why didn't this go a different route? I mean, if this was really as good as it was, why didn't this go in a more traditional manner?
You bet. That's a great question. You have to look at network marketing as a distribution model. And you're right that due to some bad actors over the years, that network marketing to some degree has a negative connotation in some people's minds. I came from a distribution-driven background. Financial services are, like I said, distributed in a very similar manner. They have tiered compensation systems, and so it wasn't, from that standpoint, from a distribution standpoint, it wasn't really that different. And I remember one time early on, after I'd started with Asea, they were interviewing someone for our IT department, and they said that they really wanted this person to join the company because we needed help. This was back when we were very, very young. He had some information about the fact that it was a network marketing company. And I said, well, do you mind if I talk to him? And they said, no. So I sat down with him and I said, let me ask you a question. I said, if our product was sold on a GNC shelf or in a gas station or at Walmart, would you feel differently about it? And he thought for a minute and he said, no. And I said, well, network marketing companies are defined incorrectly, in my opinion, by the way that they're distributed. We lump network marketing companies together. Network marketing is our distribution mechanism. It's not what we are as a company. It's how our product is distributed. No different than how Coca-Cola is distributed through retail outlets or through machines. Redox recognizing, and so to me, it's the company, the product, our distribution mechanism is not on trial. And it's not something that we should ever apologize for. The reason the company has been as successful as it has been because of the people, the network marketing associates or direct sales, is that it's a very powerful product and people share it, and it's impossible to come here and not have an appreciation for the lives that it has changed. Just, reading the intros in your book, for example, we, just show a small portion of how it can change lives. So, we're not a doTERRA, for example. I use the example clear across the street from our office. But, just because we distribute a product in a certain way, we're a redox signaling cellular health company. that happens to distribute its products through a direct marketing model. So I know people get hung up over that, but to me, it really wasn't that big of a leap, or even really that big of a concern.
I agree. I think it's more like a mini franchise, like the next level of a franchise. You're educating people about the science and the products. And like you said, there's network marketing companies that build the network and then they look for the products to distribute. We've got the products, we've got the science, we're developing it. It's not like we're looking for more products. We're developing our line because we've just scratched the surface. And I'd love for you, if you don't mind, we all got a little video from you today, kind of talking about what's coming and speaking about what's happening in 2022 and some things that are changing. Do you mind kind of speaking a little bit to that? Kind of take us back to last year and the year before, because there were a lot of things that happened in 2021 that have led to some of the changes that we're going to see in 2022. So can you speak a little bit about that as well, about our record year?
Absolutely. Thanks. To follow up on your point earlier, I think it's worth reiterating what you said. A lot of direct sales or network marketing companies are opportunity based. It's a compensation plan, and then they go out and have to find a product to put in it. And our model is completely different than that. It was the product existed, and then Redox looked for the most efficient means to get it to the most people in the quickest amount of time. If you're introducing something new into a marketplace, imagine the resources and time and money it would take to induce someone to go to a store and go to a shelf and pick up a bottle of Asea Redox supplement and purchase it. So it was a perfect fit for the model. Something very interesting happened in 2020 and in 2021. We have always been, if you really think about it, an e-commerce company. The old days, and a lot of people think of, Amway and people with garages full of product. That's not anything like our distribution model. You all have relationships and associates. People join, they purchase, but the orders are fulfilled, online, and then it's shipped directly out of one of our numerous distribution hubs around the world directly to the associate or to the customer. And so we have really been ahead of the curve in that regard, from being a social selling or online selling platform, even though somebody's introduced to the product through another person. What you're seeing right now in retail is happening, and that everything is shifting to digital. I had a realization, a while back, that all the clothes I was wearing, I'd bought online. And we had that advantage, but realized that more companies were going to be shifting to that model of online fulfillment and not so much demand creation, but placing orders electronically and those kinds of things. So you've seen a lot more familiarity with that concept in the last 2 years as retail outlets were shut down and whatnot. The beauty about our business model is that we don't have retail outlets, and so it didn't really have a dramatic impact. Our auto ships kept on churning. We early on in March of 2020, with the uncertainty and really not having any idea, I don't think any of us really could have, foreseen what happened. But we, out of a abundance of caution, we increased the safety stock, is what we call it. We increased the safety stock in all of our global warehouses from 90 to 180 days. And that proved to be actually very fortuitous, as 2021 in some regards has been harder from a business standpoint in 2020 because the supply chains have actually been choked up more this year than they were last year. And so we have virtually been able to weather the entire last 2 years of the pandemic and not experience any stockouts in any of our markets. We have, a week or two here. We're in 33 countries. And so, that single move alone allowed us to essentially stay in business. The associate base had to pivot. We couldn't do person-to-person meetings or large group meetings. And so technology became an increasingly important aspect of the business. And that's largely a lot of what you're going to see here in the coming days, is the rollout of what has been, nearly 2 years of development of dramatically increasing our capacity to enroll people, to make it easier for people to find Asea, make it easier for people to purchase Asea, everything from the website and the information they find on it, to how they become a customer, to how they enroll as an associate. That entire process, all the way through a shopping cart experience, has all been redesigned, every aspect of it. And it has been designed with the end user in mind. And we've have UX and UI. If you're familiar with that world, there's people who specialize in how order flows work and how you navigate through a website and how you navigate a checkout process. And all of those things have been reviewed. We are launching new products at convention. And if there was ever a convention to be at, I would tell you it's this one coming up in April in Las Vegas. There's going to be more things happening in the next 3 months at Asea than probably have from a external field facing side than have happened in a number of years. If there was to some degree an upside, if you could even call it that, to the pandemic, is it took us off the road and it allowed us to focus on some critical aspects of the business. And I went back as part of our business planning process. I went back and I just made a list, like a highlight list of 2021 and all the things that were done, and largely done in preparation for what you're going to see here in February. And it will be you as leaders will have, speaking to you, Lee and Maureen specifically, will have the beta version of those new enrollment flows, new websites, new landing pages, new checkout processes by the 1st of February. So that's a significant upgrade and enhancement. We are launching significant overhauls to our skincare platform at this convention, and we are actually launching 3 new products independent of skincare that are amazing products. I've been taking them for some time. We are planning to get those to our field leaders. We have a bulk shipment coming in any day now. It's just been choked up with some supply chain issues, but everything's finalized. The claims have been substantiated on the new products. The research has been done, and it's going to be super, super exciting. We, I want people to know that, sometimes it can feel lonely out there when you're building a business or trying to build a company or an organization and get people to join. But people need to understand that there's hundreds of people that are working every day to make it easier for you to tell the story of Asea and to get the right tools and enhancements to you so that we can all move the company forward. And it's not lost on us that you all, the ones of you on this call, are the ones who move this company. 2021, so 2020 was a record-setting year. 2020 was a record-setting year despite the pandemic. 2021, we actually exceeded revenue over 2020. So Asea has actually grown every single year of its existence. It has never gone backwards, which we have every expectation that will continue. We have very, very aggressive timelines. This is an interesting time of the year because we're writing the strategies and the initiative sets for what we'll be launching. And anytime you see something new that's rolled out, it's something that has been probably in development for well over close to a year, if not 18 months, is the tail some of these things have to have on it. And so when we talk about change, onboarding processes, you're going to see parts of that rolled out here. Updates to the Asea Connect app, significant connection or upgrades to that platform. And so, as we look at things, nothing is off the table in terms of us trying to improve. And we all kind of have a mindset that none of our corporate officers or really employees, we're not the kind of people who, spike the football in the end zone. And so we never go home at night really ever probably satisfied or feeling like we have arrived, because we know of the potential of this company. And we know that as great as it's been, that it can be so much greater. And that's our drive. And that's what keeps us going, is first of all, knowing the amount of good that our products do, and second of all, knowing the number of people who rely on this company continuing to grow, be successful, and be profitable. That's another thing that we operate the company with what I would consider to be a high amount of financial discipline. We actually are a private company, but we are audited just like a public company would be audited. We have books that are audit worthy of any given time, and it's not some substandard, shady accounting firm. We're actually audited by Grant Thornton, which is a highly well-respected accounting firm. But there's all of those things, all are done in service and support of our associate base. And so it's incredibly exciting for what is coming, but also knowing that the amount of good that comes from it. One of the things I was looking at is that maybe may be familiar with the Advancing Life Foundation, and you wonder, okay, how does a pandemic affect, charitable contributions? And so 2020 had the most contributions in the history of the foundation. Well, 2021, I just got notice yesterday, they finally got pulled together the final numbers. 2021 actually exceeded 2020, which speaks just enormously to the generosity of our associate base. And for those of you who don't know, that every dollar that is donated to the Advancing Life Foundation is matched dollar for dollar by Asea, the company. So that was probably a long-winded answer to your question, but
well, I have an observation to make, and maybe you can make a comment to this, because one of the refreshing things that I've certainly noticed, and it's being reflected in the chat, as we speak, and I hear it all the time, is just the culture, the refreshing culture. And as you're just, I'm not familiar with too many companies that would kind of and I know you probably haven't done it as much as we'd love, but you've kind of laid the playbook out. You've been very transparent. You're telling us things. You know, I've been in other companies where nobody knows until the moment of, and it's a, you know, great hoopla and everything else. And this is just kind of, this is a casual, this is the way we do things. You lay it out, and we have a peek ahead, and it engenders trust. You know, I mean, it's a little vulnerable, I suppose. Could you maybe speak to the purposeful nature of what you're doing corporate side to create that culture? I don't think that's just coming from the field.
So many of you may know, and if you don't, you may be interested to know that you should be very proud of this company that you represent, Asea. A little over, not probably quite a month ago, it was early December that we were at a banquet where Asea, for the 7th consecutive year, was recognized as one of the best places to work in the state of Utah. That is something that's not a pay-to-play type of situation, meaning you don't, buy your way onto that list. It's done by anonymous employee survey, and based on the survey results that we never see the results, they let us know. And I think Asea is one of the longest consecutive back-to-back recipients of that award by Utah Business Magazine, which, if you're not from Utah, which is kind of the premier business tracking and business information publication in the state. And so, culture is actually strategic for us as an organization. And part of the reason that is that as you get bigger as an organization, it's very easy for your culture to dilute. And if you don't actively pay attention to it, I'll actually read you one of the strategies for this year. Strategy is called Teaming and Culture of We, we, and Talent Development. And the description of that is to continue. So this is the strategy, and strategy is what dictates where a company puts its resources. But the way that we've defined this particular strategy, and then the initiatives are all those things down here that you have to do in support of that strategy. But it reads like this. It says, continue to improve interdepartment communication and significantly improve communication and feedback from and with the field. And consistently analyze the company's operating structure and make adjustments as necessary. Provide development opportunities to key talent and high-performing individuals, and reach deeper into the organization for issue resolution and revenue growth opportunities, and remove barriers that create unnecessary bureaucracy and slow down decision-making. So culture and teaming and personal development is, if you hear Tyler talk, we talk as much about culture and identity as we do about product, because companies aren't these things out there just walking around doing things. Companies are people, and whether you realize it or not, people don't differentiate between you and the company. You are the company to people when you talk to them and introduce them to it. And so it's a very significant thing, and I think we all ought to take it incredibly serious that we represent a company that is well respected, and we try to do our very best to be very professional and be something that you all can be proud of, because without that understanding and belief, this company would not be anywhere near what it is. And so we feel we have a stewardship over that, and we take it seriously. We don't take ourselves too seriously because you have to keep stay grounded and be able to push through when challenges arise, as we've certainly experienced. But one of our core values as a company is resolve, which is, we recognize the challenges of operating a global business and are committed to solving them when they come up. And that's probably been put to the test as much in the last 2 years as it ever has been.
But I feel like I love this. I love that you're letting us kind of peek behind things and see how, the thought process that goes into this, and even the strategic planning, because I kind of feel our company is steadfast. We're a rock. I love, I've been with the company 9 years now, and there was never explosive growth in those 9 years, but it was steady. It was always, like you said, every year was better than the year before. And it was always planned, strategic, well thought out. Distribution centers were set up. The trade agreements were made. There wasn't sort of this idea that we were going to explode Asea all over the globe at once. And you can appreciate, or I can appreciate, the fact that so much thought goes into this and so much planning goes into this, and that you guys are rock stable, rock steady. We've got great people at the helm, and I really appreciate that from you, Chuck. So we have a great past, and we're going to have an even more phenomenal future. Now, in your video today, you talk about February 1st. Now, there's going to be a video on YouTube. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of key it up? You don't have to give up any secrets unless, of course, you want to, but kind of set us up for that so we know what's coming.
Yeah, it's largely what and that was kind of you, Maureen, for those words. Thank you. What you're going to see well, first of all, let me go back to the comment you made about there is growth in companies. There's growth and there's profitable growth. And those are two very different things. It's not particularly difficult to grow a company. The trick is to grow a company profitably year after year after year. That's the great game of business. And Tyler and I both come from backgrounds of companies that have been in business, 150 plus years. And to us, that's another one of our core values is sustainability. And when I was very early with Asea, I used to have people come in and have conversations with associates, and they would say, well, this company's growing faster than we are. And you would look at it or see what they're doing and like, okay, that's true, but is it sustainable? And anytime you see any type of what is referred to as a hockey stick growth curve, where it just does this, always there is a cliff at the other end of that. And so growing a company sustainably year over year is how we approach our decision making and how we approach really everything that we do. What you're going to see on February 1st is largely more detail around what I just already talked to you about in terms of the new products, the new technology, the new tools, the new onboarding that's all coming out and will be rolling out. Some of it will roll out in phases. You will see an increased focus on customer acquisition. And that is a defensive move as much as it is a business move, because regulators want to see companies have a healthy associate to customer ratio. And so we are expending a tremendous amount of resource right now in how we facilitate you, our associates, getting the product to people who aren't maybe necessarily interested in building a business or financial opportunity, but who nonetheless are incredibly devoted to the product, and making it easier for them to buy our products. And we haven't done a great job as an organization communicating with our customers. And we've got significant improvements we need to make in that area. But so, like I said, you all will be receiving, I have to be careful, you all, that I'm not committing to all 306 people who are on this call right now. But, as members of the
Lee and I.
as members of the medical professional board, you all have probably a bigger glimpse into the products that are under development, the research that's being done. There's more research being done right now currently on our existing Redox supplement product than has ever been done.
I was just going to ask you to comment on that. Could you update us on that one thing, just from what's happened in Nashville? Because it was kind of laid out at the North American conference, but while you're in stride here, could you make sure that you comment about what's happening now?
So we've invested more in science in the last couple of years than we have in a number of years combined, with the addition of a chief science officer who is directing the research and really the credibility of the product around the world. We have, this is an approximation, probably 10 different studies running right now that are in various stages of development, and we're doing them in different parts of the world. As a global company, we have to be cognizant of the fact that what carries weight here in the U.S. may not be as relevant in an Asian market, and so we are the talent around the scientists that are associated with this company has never been higher. We have relationships, as you all, the two of you know, with some very well-respected universities, research institutions, and individuals who are not associated with the company in any way other than doing research on it. And so that's as one of the more exciting things that we will see is different claims potentials that will come around our core product. And that is something that we've been working on for several years, that you all both appreciate how long it takes for research to be conducted, incredible research, not just cheap, fancy parlor tricks. It has to be, validated and usable research as well. So yeah, that's a great point that you make, Lee, is the ongoing work that's being done on that front.
That's really good to hear. I'm assuming we'll hear more about that in Vegas.
Yes.
Good.
Absolutely. Like I said, there's a lot, there's kind of been this compression of the last 2 years as we've been limited in travel and limited in meetings and a lot of things. And so there's been the important thing to know, though, is that the work never stopped. It's kept going. We were able to transition and keep our manufacturing going. We were able to really keep the business moving forward, but actually even pay more attention to certain aspects of the business that we needed to. And so we've never been in a better position as a company from a health standpoint, from a financial standpoint. And now is an incredibly opportunistic time to be with Asea. Like I said, we've grown profitably every year from our first year, really from our first 9 months in business, but there's so much more to come. You've heard of the brand promise of We Power Potential.
Love it.
And you'll be learning more about that And a brand promise is simply the experience that you can expect to have with a company every time that you interface with them. And we power potential is something that you will be seeing more of in terms of our products, in terms of our opportunity, and in terms of personal development. You heard us say a lot of times that we don't just distribute a product as a company. We distribute products is, of course, one of those things, but we also distribute business opportunity and a culture. And usually, anytime you talk to somebody who joins Asea, they join for one of those three reasons. And it's always interesting to go to a group meeting with associates and ask the room, how many of you joined the company because of product? And the number of hands will go up. And you ask, how many of you joined because of a business or financial opportunity? And different hands will go up. And believe it or not, you can ask how many people joined Asea because of the culture, and hands will go up. And so it's...
Well, as importantly, how many stay with the company because of the culture? You know, they're not driven out by just the untoward business practices or the shady this or that. That's another, it's a feeling.
Absolutely. You know,
really
let's
is, yeah.
you know, if you don't mind my bringing up the business part of it, you know, we've been talking about how great things are going to be. You know, some things have been a little nudgy, like, you know, the process of signing people up or even maybe placing an order. But over the company's 11 years now, there has been an unbelievable amount of success with this company, with people, you know, financially. And like you said early on, you guys are driven by wanting to make an impact with what you're doing professionally. And I think people get involved here because they want to make a difference. You know, like Trish Winkler always says, make a living while making a difference, right? You know, so that kind of appeals to us. But it is an incredible business opportunity as well. I don't know how many millionaires that we have now, probably 20 something millionaires and 3 members of it who have made 10 million over the course of the life of this company. I mean, so it's really a perfect storm of product, business opportunity, and culture, you know. And I think we don't, not to put any focus on finances, but I think we probably don't talk enough about what an incredible opportunity this really is for people.
You're right. We don't. Yeah. And we need to do better at that. And there's a balance to strike there. And we're still trying to find that right balance, but it's real. I'll tell you that it is real. The business opportunity that exists. And if you want to be successful, and if you're defining that success by monetary measures, you can be successful here. You have to work hard, just like becoming a doctor. You know, people don't realize doctors work very hard for their money, and you two know that better than anybody. But it's an interesting industry in that you're rewarded and commensurate to your effort. And you know, the fact that you two are hosting a meeting on a Friday night that's, you know, getting late now on the East Coast for sure, and the number of people that are on, you know, speak to that you have the ability to become what you want to become through Asea. And one of the most satisfying things is to actually talk to people whose lives have changed, either their health or their economic situation has literally been changed because of Asea. And that's not just marketing top spin. I've seen it. I've witnessed it personally, and know the power that it has in people's lives. And it's a real thing. And we're remarkably fortunate to be a part of it, because these kinds of things don't come around very often. So we're in a very fortunate place. And, you know, you have to recognize that we have our share of challenges. I mean, it's not all roses and sunshine. It's not one continual green light after another with a parking spot right in front of your destination. It's challenging. It's work. It's effort. And as you go higher in organizations and in leadership positions in the field, and as you advance in rank, I always have to tell people that you have to remember that by the time something gets to you, it's because it wasn't solved somewhere else. And so what you end up dealing with is problems every day. I mean, that's what my day consists of, is trying to solve problems. And sometimes you have to step back and zoom out and look at the organization as a whole and say, okay, what is actually working well? It's the old quote, from the movie Apollo 13, when the explosion happened on the spacecraft and everybody was saying everything that wasn't working. Gene Kranz, who was the mission commander, said, what do we have on the spacecraft that's good? What's working? And sometimes I, have to step back, and because people don't ever call you to tell you how great things are going. They call you to tell you what's not working, which is how, I mean, and so, but the thing is that we have a group of people in our executives and employees who are deeply, deeply committed to solving them. And we will never be completely problem free. I realized a long time ago that my desk was always going to be cluttered as much as my OCD wants it to be completely tidy, but that's just not the way it works. Yeah. And you just have to press through it. So, and it's so different in advancing in rank and becoming more successful as an associate. People are going to come to you seeking help with challenges and problems. And so
the bigger the problems, it seems.
That's right. For some reason, that just seems to be a law of life, I guess.
Yep. We only have a few minutes left, but would you mind speaking to the changes that are coming on January 22nd? I'm actually really excited about the way they're going, that the company is going to be doing the auto ships. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of what the thought process was behind that?
So currently today, auto ships process every day. We have, and it's very few companies actually, by the way, pay a weekly compensation plan. It would be a lot easier for a lot of people to move to a bi-monthly or a monthly comp plan, but that's wouldn't be in the best interest of our associates. And so we have had to create processes and systems to be able to process commissions weekly. And as you know, right now, commissions close on Friday nights. And so you don't always know, because we process auto ships throughout the entire week, where you stand as it relates to volume and rank advancement. So what we're doing is we're moving to a program where we will process auto ships once a week on the same day. And what that will do is that it will give you a better sense by Monday of that week as to all the auto ships that are going to process within your organization. And then what will be added during that week will only be, individual spot orders or new enrollments that come online. So it is something that should dramatically help improve the predictability of your business, and the way that it's being structured and the way that we're managing it with the distribution hubs is that you really should not see any significant delays in the arrival of your product. And so that, is something that's taken a tremendous amount of behind the scenes programming effort and whatnot, but it's a good business move for the associates that are actively managing their business, because you'll have more visibility much earlier on than you do, trying to scramble on a Friday night maybe to get orders
I think
in
it's
or to
brilliant.
make break.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. And we're going to every 4 weeks rather than
That's right.
31 days. So yeah, so it'll be so much easier to keep track of it. And while you're building your business, it's just going to make it that much more simple.
Right.
So I love it. I love it. I think it was really brilliant. So gosh, Chuck, it was so great to have you here for our first call for 2022. I don't know about anybody else, but I just feel like this is going to be a banner year for us. There's just sort of excitement in the air. There's a lot of changes coming. There's a lot of things that we've been asking for in the field that the company has been focused on changing and improving. And most of that's going to be released or we're going to find out about it in the upcoming months. And, everybody who's on here, who's listening, you've got to get to Las Vegas if you can. I mean, I think if you don't go to Las Vegas, it's going to take you months to catch up with those of us who do go there, because there's just going to be so much information that's going to be shared. So, absolutely get on there and get your tickets. And Chuck, thank you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your coming on. I just love you, and I love the way you lead. And I just feel like we're in such good hands with the corporate team that we have. So thank you for.
I'd like to echo that and just say, your demeanor, your approach is so calm. It is so steady, and it's not highfalutin. I mean, it's not pretentious. It doesn't appear fake or phony. And it's not that anyone would suspect otherwise, but through my eyes as a field person, just out here looking at what's happening in the central city, as it were, it's very reassuring to see the steadiness, and I think that's a real core part of the culture that you are creating, and it's very, very reassuring. So I appreciate that in you, as well as Tyler and Jerem and Scott and all the others.
Yeah, we are. That's kind of you to say thank you, and me being the least of them, we have a remarkable group of people who are doing their absolute best to move this company forward. And please know that it's in support of all of your efforts, and that's not lost on us. So thank you. Thanks for the invitation. And this is the enjoyable part of the job, is to be able to have these discussions and know that we do listen. We don't always communicate great, but we're making a conscious effort to improve and to grow as an organization together collectively. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be with all of you tonight.
We've loved having you on. Let's see, we're at the hour, and we appreciate having you with us very much. I think next week, for those who are still listening, we have Dr. Carmen Keith, that will be our first health professional that we're going to interview for 2022. Maureen, what other announcements do we have before we finish up and say goodbye to everybody?
I can't think of anything, but be on the lookout. YouTube is where we'll go for that February 1st video, correct,
Yes,
Chuck?
that's right. That is correct.
So, fantastic. I'm so excited. Yeah.
Hopefully, Jim and Ann survived the slopes today. And, I talked to Jim last night and Ann as they were driving up to Park City from their daughter's place. And I said, you guys be careful up there. And they laughed and they said, well, we get off the slopes around 4:30. So hopefully they're in good condition and be back to next week.
Yeah, they were threatening to jump on and they're not here. So we'll have to check in on them. But yeah, so fantastic. They missed a great call. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next week, next Friday.
See you next week. Happy New Year, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.